Hey, 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 everybody. I am going live on several platforms. I'm trying something new. I'm a little late to the party. Please forgive me. I actually had an event here in Dubai, and I'm just a tad bit late getting on. So I apologize for those of you who actually were here at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Understand that it is actually 8 p.m. here in Dubai, and we actually had an event, and it was actually our first Greek picnic for the D9, and hopefully everybody knows what the D9 are. That's all of the fraternities and sororities, the African American historic ones, and I'm a member of Sigma Gamma Rho, hence the T-shirt. And so we were at that event, and it was in the desert. So I'm finally here. So let's get this thing started. Welcome to Sparkle Saturdays, and I am Kimberly Braxton, your dedicated life transformation strategist, and I help Black women reclaim their lives, set empowering boundaries, and master self care rituals. Today, this is the first Sparkle Saturday that I'm actually doing where I'm not interviewing another guest or guests. This is the first one I'm doing actually by myself. So thank you for those of you who have joined. Um, our topic today is empower yourself to break free and embrace self-love. Break free from what? Codependency. So welcome to this enlightening discussion on navigating the complexities of codependency and its profound impact on self-love. Okay. We're going to talk about some practical strategies for recognizing and addressing and even possibly overcoming codependent behaviors. Now, this is just an introductory session because codependency is a very complex thing. Okay. So complex that a lot of times psychologists and psychiatrists have a hard time putting one single definition to it. So this conversation today is meant to empower you to cultivate a deeper sense of self-love and fulfillment. And I'm hoping that we can embark on this journey together. So I have notes. I have my slide notes, and so you'll be seeing me refer to those, and you'll be seeing me look at two different cameras because I'm streaming on YouTube, um, Facebook, and TikTok. So welcome to those. This is my actually doing a Sparkle Saturday on TikTok. I've been doing this show for over a year now, and I never. So welcome, welcome, welcome to all of you who decided to join me here on TikTok as well. So I already pretty much talked about myself in regards to, hold on. Oh, there we go. Oh, this is very interesting, y'all, because I'm on to three different devices. And I was like, why didn't the slide advance? I don't understand. So it's a little bit of lag, but I've already introduced myself, Kimberly Braxton, once again. I'm the founder of Grow, Inspire, Sparkle, which is a company that seeks to empower Black women. And I'm also an author, and I actually have a project out right now called Unleashing Potential Life Mastery Strategy. So I wrote chapter 4 in this book, and there are a lot of amazing other authors that have contributed to this book. and I'm super excited about it. I'll put the description out there at some point, the link out there at some point. But right now I'm focused on this, right? So today, to get the most out of today, honestly, I think it would be great if you grab a notebook, your journal, whatever you like to write in, a pen or a pencil, and then definitely keep an open mind and stay with me throughout, because I believe that this conversation will definitely give you'll glean something from it. Okay. So I am speaking mostly to the ladies, but guys, if you're here, I think you'll get something out of this as well. So, so this is me at my lowest point. I got a nice smile on and everything, right? Hair is fried, dyed, and laid to the side. But what this picture doesn't show right now is that me and my husband, I don't like the term ex because he's always going to be part of my life in some form or fashion. So I call him my husband. We had just had a huge argument. So at first glance, this picture looks like I'm super happy, but I'm wearing a mask, right? Because we had just finished having a huge argument. We went to like a private area, argued like cats and dogs. And I was actually, this was my line sisters, which is my sorority sister. That means we came in together, but it was my line sister's wedding that I'm at. And I think we have finished the wedding. I think this was probably at the reception. I don't remember because it's been so long ago. But the point of it is that we had just finished arguing like cats and dogs. We're both smiling for the camera. And of course, we don't want anybody to know that we're having major issues in our marriage. And so we both smile for the camera and we both smiling at this event. Okay. So that's why I say we have on this mask. Mainly, I'm going to speak for myself. I have on the mask, right? Pretending to be happy. And wearing this mask was really a way of life for me at this point in my life. I probably was in my early 30s at the time of this picture. So that was just a regular thing for me. I was wearing a mask for so many reasons to avoid issues in my marriage. I really to avoid facing them, right? Pretending like everything's okay. Um to I wore the mask to hide the issues that I hadn't dealt with from my past. I wore this mask to hide the issues of me allowing myself to be mistreated. And the reason why I'm really talking about self love this entire month, because me and some other amazing business women had an event called Galentine's Empowerment Experience. And, this month of February is the love month, right? Except for a lot of times for some women, um, this love month and having the whole Valentine's thing, a lot of times that is very hard time for women who are single, especially women who are single and that have never been married. Sometimes that's a real hard time for them. So that's why I'm talking about this now, right? And I hope you all can hear me because I'm at my soror's house in Dubai and her windows are open and there's a lot of traffic, but I hope you all hear me fine. And for those of you on TikTok, like I um I don't know if I'll be able to answer comments right now in the moment. I will do my best. Um, However, I'm working 3 devices and I'm using my slide notes too. So I'm wearing this mask to hide the issues of me allowing myself to be mistreated in my marriage. Okay. And not just even in my marriage, but like it in general. I allow mistreatment. I'm hiding this mask of being super rigid and controlling and playing the victim. I hadn't really dealt with the fact that I was sexually abused in my childhood. I was actually raped, forcibly raped at age 11. And these things I kind of just, um, I'm not going to say I pretended that they didn't happen, but I definitely didn't deal with them. And honestly, nobody in my family even knew about it until I was in my late 30s. So, you know, the mask was hiding that too. I was dealing with verbal abuse, emotional abuse. So the mask was there for that. I had no boundary system. Like I allowed people to invade my boundaries. I didn't necessarily respect other people's boundaries. See, these are all characteristics of codependency. Okay. So I was basically a hot, jacked up mess. Okay. A hot, jacked up mess. And eventually the math stopped working for me. And my life was completely falling apart. And I would say my rock bottom, my lowest point was when my son, at that time, he was 13 years old, decided he didn't want to live with us anymore. And so I would say that was like my lowest point. Of course, he wanted to stay with my sister in Baltimore, Maryland, and you know, I I told him no, we're going to do better. Um, I had things like really all backwards. I really thought that if my marriage was healthy and going well, then I'd be happy. My happiness was bound up in my husband, but I had it wrong. My happiness really needed to come from within. So eventually, me and my husband went to Christian counseling with my pastor, and he told us, it sounds like you're both codependent. And I had never even heard the term before. My pastor recommended the book called Codependent No More by Melody Beattie. And it took me more than a year to read it because I was so angry. Not even from the book. Like, I think I was just angry anyway. I was trying to feel like numb, like just trying not to feel anything. But honestly, unexpressed feelings turn into resentment. And so I didn't realize that unexpressed anger, it just turns into resentment. So the book infuriated me, to be honest with you. It made me even more angry. I remember the day I threw the book on the floor. I was in bed and I was reading the book, and my pastor said, "You're going to see yourself throughout this book, but just keep reading the book, right?" So I didn't just keep reading the book because the book pissed me off. And so I threw the book on the floor and I kicked it under my nightstand. So that's why it took me a year to read the book. Okay. So I finally picked that book up again that he recommended, that Codependent No More book. I joined a recovery program for codependency. And through working with coaches and accountability partners, I started healing from all the stuff that happened to me in my childhood. And I started developing and enforcing boundaries and respecting other people's boundaries. I started to understand that happiness is an inside job. So let's just talk a little bit about codependency. So, this is the definition that you'll probably find if you decided to look the word up. So, codependency, it refers to a dysfunctional relationship pattern where one person excessively relies on another for their emotional needs, often at the expense of their own well being. So it's way more complex than this definition, but we'll go with this definition, focusing on that last part. Everything that codependents do is generally at the expense of their own well being. Codependency is an emotional prison. So that's why I named this segment, um, break free, because it's a prison. So some of the characteristics of codependency are people pleasing. And I know a lot of people have heard that term. People pleasing, codependents have difficulty setting boundaries and often respecting other people's boundaries, low self esteem. And so a lot of times, codependency can manifest itself in saying yes all to everything, saying yes, saying I'm okay, saying yes, not acknowledging one's own emotions. And that can cause problems in relationships. And I learned that the hard way because I'm divorced now, and I always say I'm happily divorced. So that's a big part of it. A lot of times it's denial. Um, a lot of times codependents agree to do things, right? Um, but then get mad about it later because like it was just too much. Like now you got, we got too much on our plate. So now I'm mad. So it looks like a lot of different things. Not speaking up for oneself, not not even like I'll say this. So in the height of my codependent behaviors, I'll say I was a chameleon. I would be this way with this group, be this way with another group, and not really being my authentic self. Okay. So it can look like a lot of different things, but overall, it can affect, um, you know, it did affect my mental health and it affected my overall quality of life. So codependency definitely, I love this quote. Codependency keeps you searching for love outside yourself. Real love starts within. I definitely did that. I was, like I said earlier, I was like, I'll be happy if my marriage is healthy. I'll be happy if my marriage is going well, right? I will be happy if. No, the real love, the real happiness, all that stuff has to start with me, with me. The dependency on some type of external validation is it's the wrong mindset. And that's another thing. Like once I started healing from a lot of the things that happened in my past and really started to understand codependency, I started validating myself. Like, whereas before, maybe I would pick out a certain outfit because I want to impress my husband, or, I want to, you know, blend in, whatever the case may have been. Now I pick out something because I, I want to feel good in it. I put it on for me. I do my hair a certain way now because I like it and I want to do it for me. So I practice self validation now. But people who are dealing with codependent behaviors, they often do things and seek. validation and approval from others, right? And neglecting their own self-worth or self-love. So I'm just thankful that now I can validate myself. Like I can tell myself, girl, you look good. You look good. I don't have to have a compliment from someone else to know that, to feel that. Yeah. So that's one of the things that codependency seeks external validation. Um, it also can tear away self identity. And I really, really can relate to that because I read, it was a few books that I read that really helped me heal. That for sure, Codependent No More. I read all her books, like all of her, every book she has. Codependent No More, Beyond Codependency, The Language of the All Melody Beattie's books. I read them all multiple times. Okay. But there are some other books that really helped me in my healing journey. One of them was Freeing Your Mind from Memories That Bind. And they had like a lot of these books were very interactive books. So one of the things that I had to do when I read one of these books was actually list out like stuff I like, stuff I don't like, my values. Like I really needed to get to know myself again as I started healing from these codependent behaviors. So it can really lead to a loss of personal identity because it's hindering the development of self-love, right? When a person practices self-love, like they know themselves and they take the time to spend that time with themselves to even know themselves better, right? So that's the second thing. So the first one was dependency on external validation. The second thing was erosion of self-identity. The third thing is emotional exhaustion. You know, constantly putting other people and prioritizing other people's needs from one's own needs leads to a feeling of emptiness. Like I remember feeling so depleted, like when I finally separated from my husband, like I just needed people to pour into me because I honestly, my cup was empty. I had given so much. I had worked so hard to try to save the marriage. I had just given, um, that I just felt completely empty, burnt out, and just depleted. So codependency also, the impact of it on self-love is causing emotional exhaustion. And then the last one that I want to talk about is it produces barriers to growth. You know, it can inhibit personal growth because of the cycles of unhealthy behaviors and dependence. So, those are the four ways that codependency impacts self love. Again, dependency on external validation, erosion of self identity, emotional exhaustion, and then barriers to growth. And I experienced all of these, okay? All of them. So let's move on. So I talked about this a little bit, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. So external validation versus internal validation, which is what I practice now. And look, I'm not going to say I've arrived. Okay, I'm not going to say that. I am considered an expert because I am a life transformation strategist. I'm a certified life transformation strategist. However, I'm not going to say that I've arrived, right? Because I always have to be careful not to go back into codependent behaviors. And the way that I handle that now is I do self evaluations, through, daily self evaluations, weekly, and even taking like I'm not gonna call it like a I'll say a staycation, and I'll go through my journals and I'll do some serious self evaluation. But let's talk about this now: external validation versus internal validation. And this quote says, "True validation comes from within. You are enough just as you are." And that's what I had to learn. Like, I'm enough. And, doing daily affirmations and all of this stuff has definitely changed my mindset and helped me really like embrace more self love. Okay. So, external validation. So, again, we talked about this. Like codependents seek validation, which is a big part of why they they're people pleasers. Like codependents will say yes to do something because they want that validation. They want that approval. They want to feel worthy because they don't have self-worth, right? So they want these things from their partner. It could be their spouse. It could be their family, even, their peers. So that's a big part of why codependency blocks self-love. Now there are some pitfalls to relying on external validation. Okay. So it reinforces the fact that one's worth is contingent upon others' opinions. And that's the pitfall, because if a person doesn't have that self-worth and self-validation, they're never going to feel a reasonable sense of happiness, because they're always going to be seeking that from other people's opinions, right? And people are fickle. Like, people can be very fickle. So when we practice self-love and self-validation, and we start working on doing things that for ourselves that make us happy, then we'll start to practice internal validation. Some of the things that can help with building self-worth are affirmations, which I do on a daily basis. So I also am an educator, so I do that with my students, and I do that for myself. Affirmations help inspire a growth mindset. So affirmations is definitely one of the big things that we can do to build self-worth. Also practicing self-care. Practicing self-care is huge when it comes to building self-worth and self-love. And it if you go to my website and register, I think that you get the self-care. It's free. You just go to my website, growinspiresparkle.com, register so you can be a part of my community, and you get the self-care plan for free. It's a whole workbook that I created. Another thing is celebrating personal wins. It's so important to, like, when we achieve something, to take the time to acknowledge that. It's really important. A lot of times we achieve something. I'm gonna tell you, with codependence, we don't want we shy away from, the celebration. When somebody celebrates us, we tend to shy away from it because we don't want the attention on us. Okay. Now I receive it because I receive it as a blessing. Um, and that's a codependent behavior that I have overcome. So these are three things. And then the fourth thing I'm going to say is date yourself. This Valentine's Day that just passed, I took myself out to a Michelin star restaurant. I had flowers delivered to myself, and I truly enjoyed my own company while I was out having this Michelin star dinner. So, once you start embracing self validation, self worth, self love, then you'll really start enjoying your own company. I can remember a time where when I would go to a restaurant and the hostess or host would say, just one? No, it's not just one, it's one. And yes, I'm not a just. I am a worthy individual. And yes, I'm going to have dinner with myself. I am company. Okay. I am company. So I'm not just by myself. I am enjoying my time alone with myself. So those are some things that will help you build self worth. So those again are practicing self care, doing daily affirmations, celebrating your personal achievements, and take yourself out on a date. I love to take myself out to dinner and a movie. Love to do it. Just did it week before last. And I also take myself out on vacation too. All right, so let's talk about this because this is a big one. Establishing healthy boundaries. This is a big one when it comes to breaking free from codependent behaviors and embracing more self love. So, boundaries are the limits we set to protect our physical, emotional, and mental well being. So, setting boundaries is an act of self love and self respect. Honor your needs and prioritize your well being. You know what I say? No is a holy word, and no is a complete sentence because people tend not to like the word no, but I love it now because it honors me. When I use the word no, I'm honoring myself. So let's talk about how boundaries and codependency, like how they're related. So when I was at the height of my codependent behaviors, I had no boundaries. Okay, I had none whatsoever. And so I read this somewhere that people who have been victimized, like I was, with sexual abuse in my childhood and being raped at age 11, like a lot of times that because it invaded the boundary, a lot of times because people are victimized, they don't have boundaries. They don't have them. And so a lot of times people with codependency struggle with setting boundaries. A lot of times they get enmeshed, right? I was enmeshed with my husband. Like my happiness was bound up in him. I was enmeshed. And a lot of times the lines get blurred between the codependent person and other people. So codependents definitely have a hard time with setting boundaries. Okay. But the benefits of boundaries are that they establish they provide healthy relationships. They're pretty much the gateway to healthy relationships. And they also increase self-respect, right? So those are some of the benefits. They help with improving communication and they help with autonomy. So, first of all, let's talk about some ways that we can practice setting boundaries. Okay. I would say just start with saying no to something small. Okay. That's one of the things that I would recommend. And the reason why I say start by saying no to something small, because when you say no to somebody that you really, really, really care about, there's going to be those internal feelings that they don't feel all that great after you said no. Okay. That's normal because if you were anything like I used to be, you haven't been setting boundaries. So it just like riding a bike or learning how to skate, like you got to keep practicing it to get better, right? Let's say learning a guitar or the piano. You got to keep practicing it to get better at it. So if you haven't been saying no on a regular basis, you're going to have those feelings and it's not going to feel good. But guess what? The more you do it, then the less them feelings will that you, I don't even feel them now. Like when I say no, I don't feel the negative feelings anymore because I understand that it was for myself. It was for my self-care. It was for me to honor myself and respect my own time. So I don't have those feelings anymore. So that's the first practical tip I would say. Say no to something small. The next thing is be sure that you use clear communication so that way people understand that the boundary is being violated or that people understand that the boundary is set. Okay? Don't use vague communication. Make sure your communication is very clear. No, I know I cannot do that. That does not work for me. Okay? You don't have to be mean. You just got to be clear about how the boundary that you're setting. Um, no, I can't do that on Friday. How about on Tuesday? That's clear. That lets the person that doesn't give them wiggle room to try to coerce you. And that's another thing. Don't allow yourself to be coerced. Okay? Sorry you all for the background noise. Be assertive and be consistent when it comes to setting your boundaries. Okay? All right, so let's just go over those strategies again. Start by saying no to something small so that you can start getting over the negative feelings that may come after your no. And another thing I say is own your no. Own your no, because you know what? It helps you in so many ways. The other thing is use clear communication, be assertive, and be consistent. Okay, so those are some strategies to help you with boundaries. All right, so let's continue with this. Let's continue. All right, cultivating self-awareness and self-compassion. So let's talk about it. This quote says, self-awareness and self-compassion are the foundation of self-love. I love that. Self-awareness and self-compassion are the foundation of self-love. Embrace yourself with kindness and understanding. Sometimes we can be our own worst critic. We can be so hard on ourselves. Sometimes I'm going to tell you that I used to have some self talk and even sometimes say stuff out loud like, I'm dumb, I'm stupid. Say stuff like that. I wouldn't even say to a stranger, like about into myself. Have thoughts that I wouldn't even say out loud to a stranger, right? So when we are developing this self-love, that's a good way to start. Like practice saying stuff to yourself that you would say to a stranger. If you wouldn't say it to a stranger, don't say it to yourself. Okay? All right, so self-awareness is really like honestly a very difficult thing for somebody who is dealing with codependency. And so, like I told you earlier, when I actually wrote out this list, like the stuff that I like, The stuff that what do I like? What is it that I don't like? What do I enjoy doing? What is it that I don't like doing? What do I value? Like this, when I did that exercise, and it was in one of the books I read. It might have been in Freeing Your Mind from Memories That Bind, but like you don't need a book to do that. Okay. If you feel like, because I'm gonna tell you, I totally lost myself um in my marriage. Like I when I wrote poems about it. Like I really like honestly just didn't feel like myself. Like I didn't know who I was. I was gone. And so doing that exercise really helped me become more self-aware. And so one of the things that came out of that exercise is I really like going to art museums. So I started going there by myself. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I was in my 20s. So I hadn't really done like a whole lot of going places by myself unless it was like the grocery store or the mall to pick up something quick. But like to go for enjoyment, I wasn't doing that. And so that's what I started with, the art museum, because I love going to art museums. And so that came out of that exercise. Now, because of patterns, a lot of times people become less and less self-aware because their focus is on others. So doing that exercise really helped me. So I want you to recognize triggers, and that's a part of becoming self-aware too. So one of my triggers is people who have control issues. Like anytime I feel like somebody's trying to control me or manipulate me, that is a trigger for me. That's a trigger. And so because I know that's a trigger, then I can avoid people who have that issue because that's just not good for me as a recovering codependent. So recognize the triggers. Also, focus on your own thoughts and your own actions because like people can trigger us, but however, we can also trigger our own selves. So focus on your own thoughts and your own actions as well. So let's now talk about self-compassion. And I touched on this a bit earlier. That's a key component to self-love. And it is extremely important that we treat ourselves with kindness, with understanding, and with acceptance, like we would treat a stranger, you know? So the way we would treat someone else, that's also how we should be treating ourselves. We should be patient with ourselves. Also, embrace the imperfections. Like, if everybody was the same, this world would be so boring, right? Embrace your imperfections. Mistakes happen. Maybe not, one of the things that I used to do was dwell on them, right? Dwell on my mistakes. Now I might think about it. I might think about it for a couple of hours. Off and on, it might happen, but it's not something that I dwell on for days and days and days. You know, I'm trying to think of the last thing that I had to tell myself. Like, it happened. Like, it's over with now. Let's move on. You know, I can't remember what the situation was, but it came up a few times, and that's what I said to myself. Like, okay, you made a mistake. It happens. Let's move on. Let's move on. Life will go on. So, look at those things as opportunities for growth, instead of shame or self-criticism. How can we grow from the mistake? Like, it literally ask yourself that. How can I grow from this? And I think once I do that, then that shifts my whole mindset from like, dang, I messed up on that one, to okay, I learned blah 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 from this, and that helps me to move on. Okay. I know they said do something with this TikTok to move it over to see the comments. I'm sorry, y'all. I will definitely respond to them once I figure out how to find my lives, y'all, because this is only my second live. Okay. All right, let's talk about empowering steps towards healing. And this quote here says, healing begins. Now, TikTok, y'all can't see my slideshow, but if you go to my YouTube channel or my Facebook, you'll be able to see all of it because it's all going to be on there. Okay. So on Facebook, I'm grow underscore inspire underscore sparkle. YouTube is just grow inspire sparkle. You'll be able to find me there. All right. So this one says healing begins with a willingness to embrace change and prioritize your well being. You are worthy of love and healing. This is powerful. Just this quote alone is powerful. I feel like I need to read it again. Healing begins with a willingness to embrace change and prioritize your well being. You are worthy of love and healing. That was so nice. I had to say it twice, y'all. Okay, so there's a lot of ways to develop self love, a lot of ways to overcome codependency. Therapy, counseling, those are great. For me, it was recovery. I was in a program called, and I would still be if they had it. I live in Abu Dhabi, y'all, and so they don't have it here in Abu Dhabi. So I would still be in it and go into meetings and stuff if I had it available, but it's just not available here. But anyway, the program that changed my entire life was called Celebrate Recovery. Celebrate Recovery. See, a lot of times people think when they hear recovery, they think, oh, that's just for drug addicts. Oh, that's just for alcoholics or sex addicts or, you know, food addicts. No, recovery is for anybody that needs something restored. They have it for everything. They got it for divorce. They got it for grief. They got it for codependency. Okay. So for me, that is what changed my life. And guess what, y'all? It's free. It's free 99. Okay. Free. And when I tell you, I got so much from this program because you go, if you choose to do it, I'm going to tell you what I did. I went on Friday nights. And then when they started what's called step study, that was a whole year long. So that meant I was going to 2 meetings a week. Okay. And it was free. And I was getting healed. I was digging up the root of my issues. And believe it or not, because y'all, I'm 52. Like some of the stuff I forgot about. And as I was going through this program, because you work with a group of other same-sex people, like so in my group, and someone leads the group, and I've led two step studies as a leader. The first time I participated, I was, a member of the group. And then the second 2 times I was a leader. But like some of the stuff as we work through these workbooks, like I had forgotten about. Like I had forgotten that some of the stuff that happened to me because, as a child, there's fear about the stuff. Like if I tell somebody, I think I'm gonna get in trouble. Like I don't know what I thought. I know I had the fear. The fear was there. And then came for me the shame of what happened. And so because of those feelings, that stuff got buried deep down so far that I had forgotten about a lot of it. Okay. So I'm digging up the root of these issues for free. And that's why I'm such a big advocate of either recovery, coaching, therapy, and counseling are great because I did go to counseling. I did go to counseling. But I was able to go to recovery on a regular basis for free. Okay. So these things definitely. Oh, and the other thing about that I want to say about recovery is sitting in that circle with other women who had similar backgrounds as I had was extremely comforting for me. Like, you know, going through the things that I went through, I'm gonna say the enemy had a way of making me think I was the only one that dealt with that type of stuff. And so to hear other women have the same history as me was comforting. And I felt like I was like actually able to finally talk to somebody about it. Because I'm gonna tell y'all, in the black community, in the African American community, we don't talk about it's certain stuff that we just sweep it under the rug and keep it moving because we don't talk about that. And that's why I'm very open about my personal history with sexual abuse and rape because we don't talk about it. We don't talk about those things in our community, but no, I'm going to talk about it because I don't know who might need to hear it. So, so that's the first thing. They're available for you, okay, to help you. There are other things that you can do. Self reflection practices, journaling, meditation, mindfulness exercises. Uh, these all promote self awareness and emotional healing. Okay, so those are some of the things as well. Setting intentions. Uh, Set an intention for your healing journey. Set an intention to focus on self love. Set an intention for personal growth or breaking free from codependent patterns. And then finally, seek support. You know what? We can get healed by ourselves. We can, you know, but it's something special about having other people go with you on that healing journey. It's they can hold you accountable. Okay. When they're safe, when they're safe, like find safe people, people that you can trust, like friends, family, or perhaps a group like Celebrate Recovery to provide the encouragement and the accountability for your healing path. Okay. So let me go through those again. These are some steps that you can take toward healing. You can do therapy, you can do counseling, you can do coaching, um, you can do a recovery group. I always promote Celebrate Recovery, but there's a lot. There's because that one's Christian based. There's Codependence Anonymous. There's Al Anon, because I didn't say this part earlier, but most codependents have had an addicted spouse or parent or someone close to them, a sibling. For me, it was my mom. My mother was a alcoholic. By the time I was 13, she was a blackout drinker. So that means that she would go to work. She was very functional now. She went to work and she heard the alarm clock every morning, got up and went to work. However, when she got home from work, she would start drinking till she passed out. So that's what a blackout drinker is. So a lot of times they also say inside of every addict is a codependent because truly the addiction is a symptom of the root, the problem, whatever the root is. And a lot of times it's codependency. So again, there's Codependence Anonymous, there's Overcomers, there's Celebrate Recovery, but there's so many recovery groups out there that are beneficial. Okay, so that's the first one. Then do some self-reflective practices like maybe journaling, meditation, mindfulness, setting intentions. Set an intention to journal. Set an intention to focus on self-love. Set an intention to focus on personal growth. Set an intention to break free from codependent patterns. And then the last one is seek support with someone safe. Not everybody's safe, right? And you'll know, you might feel it in your spirit. Like you'll know who's safe and who's not safe. But seek support from a safe friend, a safe family member, or some of these groups I mentioned earlier, because they'll help encourage you and help hold you accountable. Okay, all right. So wait a minute. Here we are. So embracing growth and progress. So let's look at the quote. Every step towards healing is a victory worth celebrating. Embrace your progress and honor your journey. I'm going to read it again for TikTok. Every step towards healing is a victory worth celebrating. Embrace your progress and honor your journey. So we talked a little bit about this, but let's get into what my notes say. Acknowledging small victories. Like it doesn't have to be a big thing for you to celebrate. It can be a small victory. Because when you do that, you are embracing self love and you're recognizing that progress is a journey, right? It's not a destination. Like I'm still becoming, which is going to be the title of my next book. Still becoming, right? Because I'm growing every day. I'm growing every day. I'm learning something new every day. I'm embracing more self-love. So acknowledge those small victories. Cultivating gratitude is important. One of the At my Galentine's event, one of the ladies said that she doesn't really like journal on a regular basis. So I said, "What is it? What's in the way?" And she was like, "Well, sometimes I don't really know what to write." So I said, "Why don't you start with this simple phrase? Today I'm grateful for. Today I'm grateful for." And I'm hoping and praying every day we have something to be grateful for, right? So start with that. And so that's what I told her. So, gratitude definitely helps foster a positive mindset. You know, Showing gratitude for the progress that you've made, that's like earlier, that small victory, that's powerful. So we have those two, acknowledging the small victories, cultivating gratitude, and the next one is self-reflection. You know, I I take a minute every day, probably when I get home. Sometimes it's when I get home, sometimes it's right before I go to bed, where I kind of take like a personal inventory. Like I do some self-evaluation. Take time to do that on a regular basis. Self-reflection is powerful for personal growth. Okay, and then the next one, this is the last one for this topic. Embracing imperfect progress. Embracing imperfect progress. Healing is not linear. It's not linear. Sometimes there are setbacks, and that's a natural part of the journey. That's relapse is a part of recovery. You know, the strong, and I'm Christian, by the way, the pillars in the Bible like had setbacks. Peter had setbacks. Noah had I mean, it's so many of them. So it's a natural part of the journey. Practice the self compassion and be resilient. There may be setbacks, but a lot of times them setbacks are getting you ready for your biggest comeback. So let's go over these again. Embracing growth and progress requires acknowledging small victories, cultivating gratitude, self reflection, and embracing imperfect progress. So you are not alone. Finding support on your journey. Strength comes from reaching out and leaning on others for support. Together, we can provide the path towards healing and self love. So, that could look like you getting professional help, or like I said, go to Celebrate Recovery for free. Self support groups. These are, like I said, changed my life. I would guess you would consider Celebrate Recovery a support group. And they have them all over the world. There is, I think, one in Dubai, which Dubai is an hour from where I live. So it's still difficult for me to do that on a weekly basis. Because I don't have a car. Maybe if I had a car, I would. I don't know. Let's talk about trusted allies. Encouraging, friends, safe friends and family members who can offer that support and understanding and perspective throughout the healing journey. That's important. And then there are also online resources. There are plenty of resources online where you can find help with dealing with codependency, help with promoting self love. So, these are some ways that you can find support for your healing journey. So, again, professional help, you could seek a therapist, a counselor, a coach, a life coach, to help you on the journey to embrace more self love in your life. Support groups like Celebrate Recovery, Codependence Anonymous, these definitely help provide safe spaces for sharing. And I love that I said that because I forgot to mention that with Celebrate Recovery, it's anonymous and it's confidential. Like you have to practice that. If you don't have that, it can't be a safe space for sharing. So these support groups provide safe space for sharing, learning, and receiving encouragement. Then the next one was your trusted allies. Find that safe person that can offer support, understanding, and perspective through the healing journey. And then find some online resources that will help with understanding codependency and promoting self love. Embrace your journey. And TikTok, y'all can't see this, but look, this is me now. Like, do y'all see there? You probably can't see it, but there's no mask anymore. Like, the mask is gone. Like, what you see right now with Kimberly Braxton is what you get. Love it or hate it, this is me. Like, this is me. And I now speak up for myself. I use my no and I own my no. I respect boundaries, and I just, I practice self love and self validation on a regular basis, self care. So embrace your journey. Today, I'm happily divorced, and my husband hates when I say that, but it's the truth. I live a fuller, happier life because it's authentic now. There's no mask, and I live here in Abu Dhabi, and I'll have a big announcement about that coming up soon. I treat myself like I want to be treated. I take myself out on dates. I practice self care. And when the right man finds me, I now know how I should be and what I want to be, how I want to be treated, instead of accepting whatever comes my way for the sake of being in a relationship or having a marriage, albeit unhealthy. So let's read this quote. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a testament to your courage and determination. Keep shining, keep growing, and keep embracing your journey. Take a moment to reflect on the progress that you've made towards your healing journey and self-love. Celebrate your growth, your personal growth, recognize and celebrate your resilience and your strength that you've demonstrated in overcoming challenges and embracing them, these challenges and change. Cultivating self compassion. Practice it by acknowledging that healing is a process. And it's okay to have setbacks. And the other thing is, it's okay not to be okay. Because guess what? When you acknowledge that you're not okay, that's the first, you know what? That's actually the first step in the 12 steps. Because you've taken off the mask of denial and set intentions for the future. Focusing on and continuing to prioritize self love, growth, and well being in your life. So embrace your journey. And guess what? Your journey is not going to look like everybody else's journey. Because guess what? Your history, your personal history, is not the same as everybody's personal history. So your journey is going to look different. And that's another thing. I stopped comparing myself to other people because it robs my joy. It robs my, you know what? It doesn't even honor God. It doesn't honor God because He knows the end before the beginning. So He knows my path. So I stopped even comparing myself to other people. I can't do that because it doesn't honor God or myself. All right. So let's talk a little bit about self-love now. Self-love involves treating ourselves with kindness, compassion, and respect. When we practice self-love, we prioritize our physical, emotional, and mental health. Self-love is like a flower that needs water and sunshine to grow. So think about this question. What are the water and sunshine that you need to cultivate self-love in your life? Throw it in the chat. Drop it in the chat. What I needed was, I definitely needed to face and deal with my past. I for sure needed that. And I also needed to accept who I was. So I'll say the water was dealing with my past, and the sunshine was accepting me, who I am. All facets of me, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever. Accept it all. It's all me. And it's growing and I'm changing. So let's talk about the benefits of self-love. So practicing self-love for sure leads to more happiness. It reduces stress. It improves relationships with others. Because guess what? The first and most important relationship we have is the one with ourselves. That's why I take myself out on dates and I treat myself to flowers because I like flowers. I don't have anybody to send me flowers right now, so I'm going to send them to myself. So just imagine that self love is a muscle that you can strengthen over time. What are some of the exercises or practices that you can do regularly to build and maintain your self love muscle? Drop it in the chat. One of the things that I do is I date myself. I sometimes I'll light candles at home and just have I have a what's that stuff called? Like it's a the diffuser. The diffuser. I'll do aromatherapy and I put on some jazz. And sometimes I'll just do me a nice long bubble bath to show that I love myself. I'm gonna treat myself to this. So drop that in the chat. And then the next thing, let's talk about the practices that we can embrace to promote self-love. And we touched a little bit on these earlier. Positive affirmations. That has really, really changed my mindset. That has really, honestly, I think that's the biggest thing that I did for myself. Doing daily positive affirmations to show self love, self compassion, and self care. Like these are the biggest things that we can do to promote self love. Can you all drop a check in there or a star in there? I don't have people on here to actually be a true hot seat volunteer, but let's just focus on these questions. How do you define self-love and its impact on your life? How do you define self-love and its impact on your life? So we already defined it earlier, right? Self love involves treating ourselves with kindness and compassion and respect. Okay. And it's prioritizing our physical, emotional, and mental well being. Its impact on my life, I would say it helps me stop comparing myself to other people. That's a big one. It also helps me understand that I don't always have to be around people. Like I don't always have to be in the company of others because I now enjoy my own company. I travel by myself. I travel by myself. I'll go to concerts by myself. Okay? So I that's the biggest impact that it has had on me. So you all can drop that in the comment. How do you define self-love and its impact on your life? Let's look at the next question. Share past experiences that contributed to your self love journey. Share past experiences that contributed to your self love journey. I'm gonna tell you, it's for me, it's being it has been being a part of Celebrate Recovery and really understanding that I don't need validation outside myself. Like that, I think has definitely been the biggest past experience that has impacted my journey with self-love. Like I can validate myself. I don't have to have external validation. If I get it, oh, that's great. That's just a cherry on top, right? But I already got the cake, the icing, and all of that because I practice self-validation. So what do you say? Can you drop it in the chat? Share past experiences that contributed to your self-love journey. All right, so let's look at this next one. Identify recurring thoughts or influences hindering self love. Identify recurring thoughts or influences that hinder self or hindering self love. For me, it was definitely that I used to compare. Oh, you know what? Let me tell y'all what that thought was for me. Because my husband was unfaithful. So one of the thoughts for me was, Why am I not enough? That was a thought for me because he was unfaithful multiple times, multiple times. So the thought for me was, why am I not enough? Why am I not enough? That was a thought that I used to have. Now, after going through recovery, I realized it's not me. That's his issue. That's his issue that he chose not to be faithful in the marriage. And by the way, let me say this. I never say that he is all because of him why we divorced. No, I was too controlling. I was manipulative. I played the victim. I had an emotional affair. What else did I do? That's a lot right there. But I wasn't healed. I wasn't healed. So I thought I was being the best wife I could be for him. But I couldn't do that because I wasn't healed. So that was my recurring thought. Drop in the chat. What was yours? My recurring thought was, why am I not enough? I'm so glad I'm over that now. I'm so happy. I don't have that thought anymore. It's gone. And our last one is, how do you overcome self-doubt or self-criticism? Any effective strategies? You can drop that in the chat. How do you overcome self-doubt or criticism or self-criticism? Any effective strategies? Whew. So for me, overcoming self-doubt, generally, I would say affirmations, because the thoughts come, right? The thoughts can come, but I'll rephrase it. I'll change that thought into a positive affirmation. That's what I practice. Uh and I think that works for both self-doubt and self-criticism for me. So I'm curious about what you all think. All right, you all, we're coming close to the end of this. Um, can you all drop one or two of your takeaways in the chat? I'm curious about, was this helpful to you? Um, this again was my first Sparkle Saturday without interviewing a guest, because normally I have a guest. And I really just wanted to talk about self love. I mean, I just really, really wanted to talk about that. So I hope that this was helpful for you. I really do. All right. So if you want to keep growing with me, there are a couple ways that you can work with me. So I have a book out that really gets into codependency and overcoming codependency. It's called Sisterhood Unbound. And I have QR codes on this stuff if you all want to scan it or whatever. Um, but you can find the book on Amazon and probably some other places where you read ebooks. This is an ebook, but I wrote it to the ladies. So guys, if you want to read it, I'm sure you'll get something out of it too. Uh, but it's Sisterhood Unbound. Um, and those of you who are on TikTok see the QR code because you don't see the presentation. But again, you can find it on Amazon. So the whole title is Sisterhood Unbound, Breaking Free from Codependency's Chains, Empowering Black Women to Reclaim Their Identity and Thrive. And then if you are interested in working with me one-on-one, there's also this QR code. I do a free discovery call to see if we are a good fit to work together. You can book that call for free using that QR code. Those of you who are on TikTok, you can just go to growinspiresparkle.com. Excuse me. I've been talking for all this time without water. You can go to growinspiresparkle.com and you can book me there. All right, you all. Also, if you want to just keep up with me, you can follow me here on TikTok. However, I also have Instagram. It's grow_inspire_sparkle. I have a YouTube channel. I'm on Pinterest and Facebook. I would love for you all to be part of the community. And last of all, thank you so much for joining this live. Some of you all stayed with me the whole time on TikTok. I really appreciate you for staying. And again, tell people about my TikTok, and tell people, like, share with them like whatever you took away from this. Thank you so much for joining me, listening, participating, and I just want to leave you with this. As you journey forward, may you always remember the power to love yourself lies within you. Embrace it, nurture it, let it guide you towards a life filled with joy, fulfillment, and authenticity. All right, so today we talked about codependency and how it can impact self-love. We talked about some strategies for healing. And I just want to remind you that you are worthy of love and healing and self-compassion. And I challenge you also to commit to self-love. Commit to self-love. Prioritize your well-being. Prioritize self-love. Embrace your journey towards personal growth and empowerment. And again, thank you so much for joining me today. And I will see you soon. I'll see you all on TikTok, and I'll see you all on YouTube and Facebook very, very soon. Thank you so much.